Welcome back, everyone. It is Pay Heed, the Rotojoes Kansas Basketball Experience podcast. We've had 3 games in the last week, Cooper, a week and a half. First one, we're just going to rattle down from game to game in order. First one, North Dakota State. We beat them 82 to 59. Before we start, Bad Beat Central. Little white guy hit a three at the end of the game. It was 82 to 56. Fucked up one of my parlays. So that was cool. But all in all, the team looked good. There wasn't really much to take away from it. North Dakota State was outmatched pretty much the whole game. I mean, it was a 30-point lead right out of the gate, and it just never really closed. Um, Everyone seemingly played well. There was really no beef that I had with how that all went. How did you feel about that North Dakota State game?
Yeah, it's one of those games where we do get to see everybody play. Yeah, you get the first sighting of MJ, which is really nice. 10 points. He looked really good. Yosefu had 8. We like to see that. He does need to be a scoring threat off the bench. All around a good game. Kind of what we expect out of those games. I mean, there's not much to say besides that. Those are kind of the regular routes we have.
Yeah, when you're
Going.
playing Summit League opponents, that's just kind of how that should go. I mean, that's if it doesn't go like that, you not playing well. Do you think that Jalen Wilson has played too much hero ball?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no. I think he does shoot a high percentage. The shots. He doesn't make all of them, but he right now he's averaging, I think it's 24 points per game. He rebounds well. I think he does a lot of the team player aspect things. I think sometimes he does play a little too much hero ball though. I think he does feel the pressure. If a team's building a lead, like we'll talk about with Duke, he feels the pressure to take the shot.
Yeah,
And
he's earned that. I only asked you that because that was a big topic on KU basketball Twitter this week. Is Jalen Wilson playing too much hero ball? And I would argue that in 2 of the 3 games this week, Jalen Wilson picked us up and led us to victory. I mean, against Duke, he did that. Against Southern Utah, he did that. Uh, I've been really pleased with Bobby Pettiford's play. He hasn't put up huge scoring numbers in North Dakota State's game where he didn't score 1,000 points, but 8 assists that game. Generally, just playing really, really well. I think we're starting to see him round into shape. Uh, the Pettiford Harris potential backcourt next year. I like that. I dig that. I think
right,
that I'm assuming that Dick is gone after this year. It's just been
Dick will probably be gone. The way it's looking now, Wilson and Dick are both gone. I mean, if Wilson keeps putting up numbers like this, he's having an Ochai-esque season like Ochai did last year. It's reasonable to say he's gone.
he's
And
shooting the three ball well too.
he is. And if Dick keeps playing like he's playing now, Dick has some wavering games. He's a freshman. That's expected. But he's playing well. So, and I think the outlier here that stays is going to be MJ. Just coming off the start. I mean, he's been hurt. Uh, the last game he played didn't have a great game. All around just. And maybe it's a Norm Roberts thing. I know I had heard something about Norm Roberts not liking Grady's attitude, and that's why he didn't play him a lot, or as much as I think Grady should have been played. And so maybe it changes with Self, but yeah, it does bring an exciting insight for the future with Pettiford playing. Yeah, he's not scoring, but he's handling the ball well. He's taking care of the ball. All you can really ask for. And with Marco Jackson coming in, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the lineup ends up playing out in the end next year.
Yeah, I think Yosefu's gone, which sucks. I like Yosefu, but I'm like the only person on that train still. But goddamn it, I like Yosefu. All right, now on to the big one. KU beat Duke 69 to 64 in the championship classic. I watched this game from beginning to end. I know you didn't. You just watched it after the fact. Excellent defense. I mean, we had 3, 4, 5 charges in the first 15 minutes. Dewan Harris is really, really, really good at getting position and taking one. And that affects the whole psyche of the other team when that happens. And so the more guys we have, I mean, right now it's McCullough, Harris, and Grady. But the more guys we have that'll step in and take a charge, the less violently these other teams like Duke or Kentucky can attack the rim. And that absolutely changed the game. Duke couldn't buy a 3-point basket. Really, we couldn't either. But uh, Duke couldn't buy a 3-point basket. They were just clinging for anything they could get from the 3-point line. And we clamped them up. I mean, Derek Lively came in the top ranked recruit in 2023 or 2022, whatever class this is. He looked okay, had some blocks, but nothing that made me think he was spectacular. He's just a rim runner. Uh, Really encouraging effort. KJ played really well. Didn't have a huge stat line, but all the intangible things were there. He was switching well. Kevin McCullough had a really good game, the type of game that you envisioned when he transferred. Jalen, I mean, willed us with 25 points and 11 rebounds. Grady got hot there at the end. Really encouraging win. And this was supposed to be a team that maybe wasn't quite as good as expected. Not that a KU team would ever really be bad, but just maybe a 4 or 5 seed in the tournament instead of a 1 or a 2. But after beating Duke, I still don't think we have a championship team because we don't have a big. But after beating Duke, I feel like we can probably make it 1-2 seed, be a Sweet 16 contender for sure. I don't think we make it past like the Elite Eight at all, but an encouraging win, and it was a good one. We rebounded well. They had some offensive rebounds, but they played 2 7-footers. I mean, what else do you expect? All in all, the really encouraging win, especially without Self.
Right, and that was going to be my point. Is it's very obvious that I like Norm Roberts. I'm glad he got his wins. Like that was really cool, but it's back to Self, and it needs to be back to Self. That's a game that if you have Self, maybe we win by more. I think we did really well taking the charges, like you said, but I also think we fouled too much on the other end. That was pretty obvious. We have, I don't know, we're a small team, and that's kind of hard against 7-footers, but yeah, the fewer fouls, the better for us. We went 3 for 19 from 3. I mean, they shot poorly too, so it was okay. 13 blocks in total. 13 blocks in total was incredible. I know Ernest Uday had 4 off the bench. Came in swatting shots.
KJ had 2.
Right. And it would have been nice to have MJ. We didn't. That's okay. But overall, I think that's a great game to win, of course. So there's nothing there, really, but good one to have. We should be moving up in the standings. I think it's ridiculous that we were ranked under Baylor and Houston, for that matter. Kentucky lost
today.
I think they do too. Kentucky lost. Gonzaga lost. Baylor, I think, won against a ranked team last night for the first time this year. I mean, the first time they played a ranked team. And UNC only beat an unranked team by 6. Now, it's not saying much because we only beat Southern Utah by, what was it, like
6?
6, yeah. But we also played Duke. Like, we played Duke the game before. So, we should be looking to move up. Now, I said this before the Southern Utah game. It's the mid-majors that we always struggle against, and that showed heavily in that Southern Utah game. I mean, they came out firing, and we always talk about the white guy on the mid-majors that always has a great game against us. There were 2 of them.
There were 2 of them.
14, and the other had 6. Now, 14 and 9 on 4 from 5 from shooting.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I honestly didn't even get to watch the Southern Utah game. Knowing what I know, after beating a Duke team that was ranked number 7 with better recruits than us, and it's Duke, and there's a lot of shit tied to playing Duke, and a lot of emotion, and that's a pretty big rivalry for Kansas. Coming off of that game, I mean, I'm not super surprised we had a letdown. Brady still did his thing, 18 points. Jalen had 33. DeJuan had 14. The bench absolutely did not produce at all whatsoever. Looking at a bunch of zeros in their stat lines. It's one of those situations where, and having self probably helps, but where you've got to have the resolve to not have a letdown energy wise. You can't be all the way up here and then go all the way down here and then keep fucking fluctuating. That doesn't work well. You got to have one energy level, which against Southern Utah we did a lot of offensive rebounds allowed. We didn't hit the off. We had 5 offensive rebounds to their 13 offensive rebounds. That's bad. That's a mid-major we just got out-rebounded by. So the effort needs to be a little bit better, but...
Let's note this is a mid-major with a 6'6" kid starting at power forward, and I think the other guy was 6'11". Like, going from Duke where you're playing 2 7-footer, Derek Lively's 7'1". The flip is 7 foot to 6'11" and 6'6". There should be no reason that we're getting out-rebounded.
Is Flip the most Duke big man that's ever duked before?
He reminds me of Christian Laettner.
I fucking hate that guy. Flip?
The way he plays, the way he acts and the way he plays is a lot like the way he acts is JJ Redick, any of the white guys that play for Duke in history. Christian Laettner, very high ego, look what I can do kind of player. With the play style of Christian Laettner, it's just
Flip did have a lot of Laettner in his game. He had a little more shooting off from behind the arc, but
he's somebody you'd love to have on your team though. I mean, you and I both said that.
Oh yeah, I would kill for a Flip. That dude, C6, right. 7 foot with handles.
A lot like how Chet Holmgren was supposed to be last year.
Yeah, Chet. I think Chet was a little bigger than everyone thought. A little bit more uncoordinated than originally built. I like Flip though.
My most two concerning things from the Southern Utah game. First, Kevin McCullough with 5 turnovers. Can't be turning the ball over, especially as a senior. Played at Texas Tech. He's played, he's played KU
a ton of basketball. He's played a ton of Big 12 basketball.
So there should be no reason to turn the ball over that much. And then DeJuan Harris letting Travion Jones have 25. Now, that's their highest scorer all season. That's their leading scorer. But he took us for a ride.
That's how those mid-major programs are. There's always one little guard.
But you'd love to see, and I'm not saying DeJuan, of course, it's not the end of the line for DeJuan. We've seen DeJuan play good defense on, the likes of RJ Davis and players like that, the high elite guards. I mean, he's a championship guard. But you'd like to see him just hold him to a little less.
All right. So, we're 4-0. Bill Self's coming back. We're going into the battle for Atlantis. We'll talk about that here shortly. Between now and then, though, outside of the battle for Atlantis during Thanksgiving, there's really not going to be a whole lot of tough games. I know we play Kentucky in January. Obviously, play starts around that time.
First ranked team we play ranked right now would be Indiana. Seton Hall, I think, will be tough.
Seton Hall will be tough. They'll be scrappy. They won't be like... Seton Hall won't be uber talented. They won't do any one thing quite well. But Seton Hall will be scrappy and defend and rebound and do all those little intangible things that really piss you off and make it hard to break out and win.
Seton Hall, Mizzou, and Indiana all in December. Now, Mizzou, I'm not scared, but it's at Mizzou, and the way we turned out, I can only imagine that they're going to try to match it because, that was the rivalry for the longest time, and all the old people want to go back and relive it.
We do play Missouri in Missouri, don't we?
Yeah, because we played them at home last year.
They fucking suck.
Right, and so that's why I say I'm not uber worried about it. But, there's always that, they might get the fire under them. Looking at the Big 12 right now, TCU looks pretty good. Baylor's a top 10 team. Texas beating Gonzaga. That was a good game for them.
Crazy.
Now, I feel like Texas always underperforms in the long run. I mean, going back to, I think the earliest or the latest time I could remember that would be the Mo Bamba team. That was really good. We went and smacked them. I remember that because I remember Devontae Graham standing up to Mo Bamba. I was thinking how funny that was because.
Well, shit. Okay, so looking at it, we're kind of bouncing all over the place. I just don't want to move past it too much. Battle for Atlantis. Butler, BYU, Dayton, who's well coached, NC State, USC, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. So there's some like good teams, but no one that I'm.
Dayton would be, I think, our hardest competition because Dayton always plays us close.
Tennessee's
Going back
good.
to the Doak team, Dayton almost beat us. The Obi Toppin led Dayton team.
I
so that's a
remember
team
that
Doak went close.
Doak went coast to coast that game. Dunked on someone. Fucking hilarious. So yeah, not a lot of competition. So all this was really leading up to this. Where do we think KU ends up in the polls? We've seen Kentucky lose, Baylor lose, Gonzaga lose. North Carolina's had a bad game.
I don't think we're going to jump. I don't think we're going to make the jump in the top 3. I'll say that. I could see us going. I could see us moving up to 4. I mean, of course, I think we're moving up to 5 no matter what. Yeah, there should be no question about that. Kentucky's probably going to drop heavily. They lost 2 games. Yeah, they lost to Gonzaga most recently, and I don't even remember who they lost to last week.
They lost to Michigan State.
They lost them. That is right, because they played them right before us.
Dude, Cal sucks. You probably haven't. If you go on the Kentucky, like these people in Kentucky, apparently there's no internet or like new things in Kentucky. So they still use forum boards. And I see these Twitter screenshots of these forum boards, and they're all just fire Cal, Cal sucks, fire Cal. They fucking hate Cal there. Everyone hates Cal. He's bad. He's one of the worst he's one of the worst in-game coaches I've seen. Like just regularly. He's the Sean McVay of college basketball. Just will melt all the way down.
Right. And that's I mean we've seen that a million times over, unless they have, their 6, 7, 5-star recruit teams. They tend to heavily underperform.
Yeah, they don't have Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Oscar Tshiebwe. Always quote, he's one of the best big men in the league, but that's really all they have. I mean, I don't think it's an overstatement to say Oscar Tshiebwe is all they have. Really. And he's a guy that even, going back to his time at K-State, wavered. You're never going to get a fully, consistent season of 20 points a game.
Tshiebwe went to West Virginia, but point taken.
Okay, fair enough.
But point taken, Doak used to shit on him either way. Kentucky they have some talent, some top 15 players as always. However, Cal just doesn't know how to work with them. I mean, he does not develop talent well, which is not. It makes me laugh. I fucking hate Kentucky. I just have this thing where I just don't like Kentucky. They just annoy me. They annoy the shit out of me. I think we're probably going to get up to 3. I think that's where we land. I think we'll probably jump Kentucky, Baylor, and Gonzaga. However, the AP has a hard on for Gonzaga. Maybe I could see Gonzaga not dropping at all.
Because they did come out and beat number 4 ranked Kentucky.
Yeah.
They lost to a Texas team that ranked 11. Yeah, it's a tough competition, but they got, if I remember right, got blown out by that Kentucky team. Or not that Kentucky team, I'm sorry, the Texas team. It was a pretty bad loss. And it looked bad on that program.
It was like 15 or 20 points.
The AP polls also has a hard on for Houston.
They do like Houston. They do like
Houston's number 3 right now. I don't even know if Houston's played somebody ranked. That's my thing.
They might
Yeah,
barely play any ranked comp, honestly. Let me
right. We
check
came
it
out
as
and
we
beat
talk.
number 7 Duke. Dude, that's a I don't even know if they should be number 7. I feel like they should probably be higher. That team on paper should be a higher overall team. So, do we really deserve to be under 5? No. I don't. I think we should have been number 5. Yeah, how do you put the national championship team at number 6 underneath Baylor and Houston, for that matter, teams that really didn't have a shot at it last year?
Yeah, I didn't like. I mean, obviously, you have to rank based off of what the team is going to do, not what they have done.
Right.
Okay, Houston schedule. They've played North Colorado, St. Joseph's, Oral Roberts, Texas Southern, and Oregon. Real murderers row of opponents here. They'll play number 18 Alabama on December 10th.
Oh
And
shoot, that's a
number
tough one.
16 Virginia on December 17th.
Shaking in my boots at that one.
That's all the ranked competition they have on their schedule. Now that might change. Maybe Memphis slips in. Maybe.
Right, but we're talking teams that are 25 fighting for 20, maybe. And 2 top 20 under 15 teams.
Yeah, they're going to
that's
have that Gonzaga stench on them come tournament time where it's like, well, who have you played? Like,
right.
yeah, maybe I could totally see Kelvin Sampson going undefeated this year, like 100%. But it'll be the Gonzaga / Wichita State / every mid-major to ever make it far more than 1 year, where you look really good, but you just haven't had enough of those high-level games to know how to close it out.
Right, and that's something that it's just, irks you to see that they're above KU. Because obviously, if you put the Houston team up against this KU team, especially with Self, what happens? Houston probably gets the crap kicked out of them.
Yeah, Houston doesn't do. They don't shoot the 3 ball. 33% don't shoot the 3 ball well. They get a lot of stonks, so blocks and steals. They get a lot of offense. I mean, they do the Kelvin Sampson thing: is play defense, shoot 2-pointers, everything else be damned. When they play a Virginia, they're going to struggle because Tony Bradley's going to pack line them, and they're not going to have the shooting to beat it. When they play, I don't know about Arkansas. Arkansas is kind of hit or miss, but they'll be challenged. And I don't think they're a national championship team. I know a lot of people are billing them as such, but I'm not one that, I mean, they're not huge either. They have no rotation players over 6'8", which we've seen not matter before. Think Villanova a few years back.
Right.
However,
well, if they're not hitting the 3 ball well,
that's the
matter
thing.
then.
If you're not going to have any bigs, you better be able to shoot the shit out of the ball. At Villanova, 4 of the guys could shoot shit out of the ball. It was hard
trust
to
me,
stop.
I remember that Nova team. We tried to outshoot them.
They have some shooters on those teams. Like,
that was our best shooting team probably ever. What was that? Graham, Newman, Vic,
V,
and then Doak in the
Doak
middle.
in the middle of all that.
Like, that might be on paper one of the best KU teams we've ever seen. And
God, I forgot
Villanova
about that lineup.
outshot us so bad. That was Malik Newman coming off 35 points on Duke, on Grayson Allen, and they just took us behind the woodshed that game.
That was bad. I remember that. I totally remember all of that now. I do remember how bad it was. We got down 20 quick. But yeah, Houston's not doing it for me. I like Kelvin Sampson. I like Marcus Sasser. I mean, I like the idea of Houston. But when you only play 2 ranked teams and they're not necessarily like good ranked teams, that doesn't bode well for your success. Do we think MJ Rice is more Kelly Oubre or more Wayne Selden?
Gosh, I hope it's Wayne Selden.
Including staying for 4 years.
I think the way this year started, he's already been hurt, twice? Or he's been out 3 games, 4 games, no, 3 games. He played 1 or 2. He's been out quite a bit. You know, he had 10 the one game, but then nothing the other. Granted, he played I think it was 7 minutes the other game. You know, the game he had 0. You know, so that could be a self thing, but I'd like to say I think he's more Wayne Selden.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a Kelly Oubre type yet. I haven't seen that cockiness. I haven't seen him have just an absolute irrational confidence style of play. Kelly Oubre used to think he was a goddamn 3-point shooter.
Kelly
I'll tell you
Oubre,
what,
Josh
Kelly
Jackson.
Oubre still isn't a goddamn 3-point shooter. Like, it's been 7 years. He's had NBA level talent training him. Still can't hit a goddamn jumper in the middle of a game.
No, I hope because we do have a streak of forwards who get like that. I think Josh Jackson.
Here's a fun game. Who's your least favorite 5-star recruit? And why is it Josh Jackson?
Josh?
That guy sucked. God damn it.
I remember he could pack it home, but that was about it. I don't ever remember him really taking a game over and being like, wow.
Him and Wiggins were the same fucking person. They were uber athletic. But by God, they had no fucking, there was no will. There was no, I'm going to go get a bucket right here. I'm going to go establish myself. They didn't give a fuck about that. They were like, yeah,
that was Frank Mason. They just left it Frank.
Yeah, the whole
you have
time.
2 5-stars.
They all
was
just deferred to Frank Mason.
What was Frank coming out of high school? What?
He wasn't ranked. He was a 3-star recruit that had an offer to. Oh, he had an offer, I think, to Appalachian State that he had taken. But yeah, they just all. Josh Jackson was bad. There was a stretch of years there where it was like Oubre, Wiggins, Jackson, and then I think another. And all 4 did not end up being as good as we thought they would be. I think that's why Self changed. You can kind of go and look. Self targeted those 5-star guys real heavy in the mid 2010s. Didn't work out. Went to these 3-4-star guys that he used to get. Kind of worked out, but then we had some low talent years. Now we're back in, okay, we're going to try to get 5-star guys.
Well, and the guys we're getting now aren't particularly cocky. I think Grady's a little bit, but he doesn't, he can also go and score it.
We're getting guys who can shoot the basketball and play more than just one way.
Right. Elmarco Jackson's going to be that way. I like Elmarco. High-star recruit. I think he's nice. Grady was a 5-star coming out of high school. He's played well. MJ, 5-star. We haven't seen enough of him to really make that distinction yet, but I don't know. I don't think he leaves after this year.
I'm just glad we don't have to watch Kelly Oubre play anymore. That's it. Do we still think this basketball team is not going to win a championship?
I was already on the train of I think they might be able to do it. Now, what concerns me is we're only shooting 32% from 3, and as we just talked about, if you're going to shoot bad from 3, I mean, that's not horrible, but if you're not going to shoot the lights out, then you have to have a big. We don't have a big. We have KJ. KJ showed a lot of ability to play in the post these last 3 games, but even against Flip, Flip packed him a couple of times. Same with Lively. The guys that are 7 foot, 7'1", he's not going to bang in the post with them. That's not going to work at all. Now, again, I like him in the pick and roll. We've seen a couple of lobs from DeJuan to KJ. Really like watching that. I like him in the dunker spot too. Again, coaching matters. I thank Norm Roberts for what he did. I enjoy what he did, but he's not Self, and it's obvious.
So we kind of touched on it. We have a nice little class for next year. We need a big. Self needs to figure this big man shit out. Like, I don't know
And
if he's just
maybe
cool.
he's high on Ernest. I don't mind
Maybe
Ernest.
that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's high on Ernest and KJ. Quite honestly, I'm getting high. I was already quite high on KJ, and this is only verified what my thoughts were, which is he's not a scorer yet, but he's a shot blocking, rim running 5 at a very elite level.
Here's the thing: Ernest shows potential too, little flashes. Duke, he doesn't score, but he gets 4 blocks. You know
Ernest
what?
does show flashes.
That's what it takes. You know, sometimes he'll go out there and score, and
you know what?
Develop him over time and get him a post game. As long as he's not shooting fadeaways.
Want to talk about someone showing some flashes? Zuby and Jebafor. We haven't talked about Zuby this whole time. That man comes in and just gobbles up the rebounds. It's crazy.
He's a rebound monster. Now, again, I think I compared him to Landon Lucas, which
it still looks good.
Yeah, I was about to say he can't score. He can't really even take care of the ball once he rebounds it, but he can get the rebound, and that's all that matters. You throw a trap at him the second he gets the rebound, he'll probably give it
Duke
up.
did that. Jeremy Roach came under him one time and give me that shit.
Yep.
And
That's exactly what I was talking
Zuby,
about.
keep it up.
Yep. Zuby is Landon Lucas 2.0. And you know what? Maybe that's all it takes. I like Zuby. I'm not saying Zuby's bad. I really like watching
Zuby's going to be good. Like, I totally see the flashes. Zuby's going to be a really good fight. He's going to be, he reminds me a lot. He's a mix of Jamari Traylor and Tariq Black, where he's big. He's bigger than Jamari was, and I think he's going to end up being bigger than Jamari was. But super effort. Not always the guy you want taking over, but he'll have his spot moments. So maybe that's why we haven't recruited a 5. I would just like a legit footer.
If we keep both Ernest and Zuby for the long run, do we at some point end up seeing the Bill Self 2 big lineup like he ran with Dave and Doak?
Fuck, they ran that with KJ and I don't remember who the second person.
I think it was Ernest.
I think so.
It did not look good. It's the no spacing offense. I don't know if you remember that team. It was Doak and Dave kept trying to shoot mid-range jumpers.
Bill Self just likes to pull that offense out every once in a while because. And we might see the KJ Ernest duo start at some point. That might not have been a bad idea against that Duke team, honestly. If we ran big. You know who really would have been nice that Duke game is Zach Clemens.
Yep.
He catches a lot of flack, but he would have been good on flip.
Yeah, I was about to say they move really similarly.
They move similarly. They are both the same body type. Similar games. I almost guarantee Zach would know how to shut him down just because he plays the same game as Zach. And
right.
You gotta know how that shakes out as a player. All right, Cooper. Anything else we want to hit on?
Not that I know of. This is an exciting start to the season, obviously, beating a ranked Duke team that's, I think, better than people give them credit for.
I wasn't sure when they called the Self suspension. I wasn't sure how we were gonna fare. I was kind of expecting a 3-1 start with a loss to Duke. I wouldn't have been surprised at 2-2. So to be 4-0, that's really good. There were some major 3-point shooting was a question. That's been fine, even though it's concentrated within 3 or 4 guys. I mean, you like that to equal out a little more, but that's all right.
The defense, I think, is our best aspect. I love to see the defense that we play. Something that I feel like last year's KU team wasn't great at. We did have Dave wasn't the shot blocker that
Dave couldn't defend anybody. Remy couldn't defend anybody. CB and Ochai could, and Jalen was all right. But the big couldn't, and the one couldn't, so they could get into their offense every time and throw it to the post.
Right, and so that's something, our biggest defensive liability is Grady, and he'll, like we talked about, he'll go out and take the charge.
Grady's not a huge liability.
Right. this team has played really good defense so far. Again, with MJ, we talked about this the first episode. You could go out there and throw a full court press, probably almost the whole game with those guys, and just say beat it.
I still think that's the way. I think that's the way we should play.
And I wonder if we play that way come March. If we run into a tough opponent, I wonder if that's just how we have to play them. Is straight up face guard and make them beat us.
We could throw that on Houston.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll get out of here. We'll be back again next week. Don't have a set day still, so we gotta get that figured out. But once we have that figured out, we'll be making that known. But yeah, we'll be back next week with more Pay Heat. It was a good week. This week, battle for Atlantis. It's a dull battle for Atlantis this year, but maybe we see like a good Tennessee team. Definitely we'll be watching that instead of paying attention to Thanksgiving. So, all right, guys, have a good day. Thank you for listening.